Do we got free will? Is deja vu proof that we live in a simulation? Because if reality is scripted and it is true that we can move forward and backwards in time, then deja vu is proof that we can move forward in time, come back to the present, and when that point in time catch up to the present, we remember the future. We can remember the future because it already happened. You can't remember something that has not happened. And people are looking for so many explanations of deja vu, but nothing make more sense than the ancient explanation. A lot of people, they tell me, Sanchez, it's just a mental glitch. Your mind playing tricks on you. They got all of these scientific explanations. And that's enough for them. It satisfies them because they don't think outside the box. They just accept what authority figures tell them, and they don't have any free thinking. If you think about what the ancients said about deja vu, it makes perfect sense. There's no trick that your mind can play on you that will allow you to see the future. What kind of trickery is that? Either it's a gift or a trick. We know that the ancestors were prophets. They was able to foretell the future. They had foresight. What happened to ours? Instead of us trying to explore and harness deja vu, we treat it like a mental glitch because we believe what science tells us about ourselves. What a tragedy. I asked the question at the beginning of the video, do we have free will? Deja vu is proof that the future is already written and we can move forward and backwards in time. We can remember the future because it already happened. There's a parallel reality out there right now where next year is already taking place. As that reality passes into our point in time, we will experience it just as it was. You cannot remember or recall an event that has not happened yet. Science tells us that tomorrow is a blank page in a book with no words written on it. We're writing this thing as we go. And then when I look ahead of the book and see words and I have deja vu, science say, oh, your mind just playing tricks on you. It's a mental glitch. Think about that. Science tells us that we're writing this book as we go. It's not pre-written. But if the next page is blank, then I shouldn't be able to recall it before it happened. There should be no one saying, hey, I saw this event play out before it actually manifested in this point in time, which is what deja vu is. That's proof we've been lied to about linear time. According to the Mayans, all points in time are already manifested and they're just waiting to pass through the present. We don't move through time, people. Time moves through us, according to the ancients. And as time moves through us, it's transforming us. Tomorrow is a parallel reality that already exists. And I'm doing everything in that reality that I'm going to do when tomorrow happens here. That's because that reality is in motion. And it's going to have its time to pass into my present space. And when it does, I'm going to say, hey, tomorrow is here. And I'm going to act out the script because each day is bringing a new parallel reality into the present. Each day is like a page of a book flipping. And the words on the next page are already written. We're not writing this book as we go. It's pre-written from beginning to end. And that's why we can have deja vu, because the point behind recalling an event or remembering something suggests that it already happened. And according to the ancients, the past, present, and future is already manifested. The question is, if everything is written out, do we have free will? We still have free will. But how is that so? Well, let me break it down to you. Every possibility that can happen within infinity for you is already happening within the multiverse. So you get to choose which reality you want to summon into your present space. And that's what you will manifest. Now, we don't get to edit the scripts, but we get to pick which book we want to read. So we still got free will. The multiverse is this big ass library, and there are so many books and possibilities and different versions and outcomes for your reality and for who you can become, which version of you can become. There are countless books, plenty realities that you can partake in. You can't pick up one of these books and start erasing stuff and editing the script. If you don't like a particular book, then you put the book down and read and get another book. That's what I mean by everything is pre-written, but you still got free will. You got the choice to choose which parallel reality you want to summon into your reality, into your present space. There are greater versions of you out there that you can be. And you tap into those versions when you think about yourself and you say, man, I know I can do better than this. You picture yourself as this greater version. You're not having an original thought. You're peeking into a parallel reality where that version of you already exists. It ain't like you're changing this version of yourself into that version. You're literally swapping versions and you're summoning a new reality into your present space. We can choose any reality we want at any given time and transform ourselves to any version that we can picture right here. That's what meditation is about. It's about going within and dialing up the frequency of yourself that you want to be at this particular season in time, because it changes over time. As you peek into new parallel realities and get acquainted with even greater versions of yourself, you start to summon them. This is how ancients perceive reality. They didn't think that there was an original thought or that there was anything new under a sun. There's no such thing as a new version of yourself. It's only new to you. But this greater version of yourself already existed in a parallel reality. And in fact, this greater version of yourself, some of your loved ones, your wife, your children may have already been acquainted with that version of yourself before you was. You may have people around you that say, man, I see a better version of him. That brother living beneath his potential. He just don't know his power. But it takes for you to realize it. And once you see it, you start summoning that version of yourself. If you can see it, you can be it. But the whole point of me making this video is to talk about free will and the fact that you can still have free will in a simulation, in a multiverse with pre-written scripts. No, we can't edit the scripts, but we can choose which script we want to manifest, from the greatest to the lowest and all in between, for whatever purposes of transformation we're trying to accomplish. Now, I can give you some more evidence for the fact that we can't edit the script, but we can pick a new script if we don't like the current one. But proof that we can't edit the script, the ancients were very skilled at telling the future and foreseeing events before they happen, but they couldn't change what happened. A lot of our ancestors prophesied their own demise. And that's what I keep telling people. A lot of our ancient people knew what was going to happen, but couldn't change it. You would think if I had the ability to peek into the future, that I can change some stuff. Like if I know that when I walk out in front of this road, a car gonna hit me, why would I still walk out there? It's like deja vu. You know what's about to happen. Why can't you change it? Every time you have deja vu, you know what's about to happen, but your mouth just can't get it out in time. You always say deja vu right after everything happened. You always late. If our world is scripted and we're in a simulation, you would not be able to interfere with deja vu because you just a puppet. Then nobody write in the script that you're going to be a prophet and tell the shit before it happened and have everybody clapping. Oh, he told the future. That ain't going to happen. You going to know what's going to happen, but you ain't going to be able to stop it because it's written out and your body has to perform what's written out. And it ain't written for you to stop it. It's not written in the script for you to be a prophet, for you to try to edit deja vu. That's why you always late. You will never be able to stop deja vu, and deja vu is always going to be faster than you. Now think about what I'm telling y'all. We've all had deja vu, meaning we know what's going to happen, but we can't stop it. We can't get ahead of it. We can't do nothing about it. And we can't even say nothing about it until it happened. That's why the Bible said, in the beginning was the word, it was written, and all things must come to pass. It must be fulfilled. If you watch the movie The Matrix, shout out to S.W. Green for putting this in my comment section. The Oracle said this in the Matrix movie. You didn't come here to make the choice. You already made the choice. You're here to understand why you made it. That's a bar right there. You know why? Every choice that you can make has already been made. That's called the law of probability, the law of infinity. The law of infinity says that anything that can probably happen has to have already been manifested, or the universe ain't infinite. If there's something that can probably happen and it has not happened yet, then the universe is lacking an event. And that goes against the law of infinity, which infinity can't lack anything. Within infinity, the future and the past must exist already manifested. You can't be waiting for new things to happen within infinity, because every probability and possibility, the universe has already worked that shit out in a parallel reality. There is nothing you can think of that don't exist in a parallel reality. There are no random thoughts. There is no randomness. There's only the choices we already made that exists out there. Every choice that you're being made from beginning to end within time has already been made. And our whole existence is trying to understand why we made those choices. And in that understanding, we will regain the knowledge that made us gods before we fell. This is a story. And the knowledge that we gain from this is truly power. Power to manifest into the highest realms and to become one with the God body, with our highest self. So we're literally born in our own labyrinth of choices that we made all throughout the multiverse. And until we go on a journey of self-discovery and the knowledge of self, we can't make it out of our own labyrinth. And that goes for every being with a soul. Every action that you could possibly take within infinity is already manifested. And because of that, every good deed and bad deed, you're acting it out in a parallel reality. And in order for you to understand who you are, you got to explore all of these parallel realities, being those versions of the self that made these good choices, bad choices, and all of that. In other words, God don't have any knowledge of self without a human experience. And they both are benefiting from the experience and gaining something that they didn't have prior to it. The only way that God can see his deepest flaws and greatest gifts was to shatter his consciousness into different versions of himself that's allowing him to zoom in on particular aspects that exist within each version. There may be a version of God in a parallel reality that is having a gambling addiction. And until God break that gambling addiction in that particular universe, that piece of God's light will be trapped there, making the God body up here weaker. Because God want to collect all of his shattered pieces of consciousness. But in order for God to regain that little piece of light, he has to literally get to know himself and realize, hey, how did you fall down here anyway? What did you do to get you here? This is literally a correctional facility. And God got to correct himself and realize and take accountability and quit saying that the reason we here is because the sin of your mama or the sin of Adam and Eve. The reason we here is because choices all of us made. We forgot we made them. You exist in all of these realities. You've been making these badass choices in these realities. In some of these worlds, you've been making good choices. But the ignorance of who you are and the separation of the self within all these worlds is what's keeping us from resurrecting as our higher self. It's like saying I'm holding a seed in my hand, but I don't know if it's an apple tree or orange tree. I don't know what's inside the seed or what kind of seed it is. How do we find out what kind of seed it is? How do we discover what this thing is? We put it in the ground and we let it grow and we see what comes up. And now we're going to see what's inside this seed. That's why God came down here in the underworld. We did exist as gods in a higher realm, just like a tree exists above the ground as a seed. That's how we existed in heaven, as seeds. It don't do you no good to exist above the ground as a seed. A seed sitting on my desk is just consciousness locked and frozen in time, waiting to be activated. It ain't gonna do no growing. If I just leave that seed on my desk, it's gonna sit there frozen in time. Once I put that seed in the ground, it start growing and aging. It become a baby, then it grow up and it die. That's what death is. Death ain't nothing but you as a seed going through your process of transformation. But when we existed in the higher realm in Eden, we was immortal. We couldn't die. You know why? You can keep a seed indefinitely. I can have a seed and I can store them seeds away for years. They got so many doomsday vaults around the world. They got seeds that they can plant from trees that they was planting in the 1500s. They got life frozen in time like Demolition Man. They was saving seeds way back in the day. The people in power, they still eating the fruit that people was eating in the ancient world, and they giving us the new modern GMO stuff. But they froze the old world in time. There may be uncharted islands with animals that we think gone away, but they still breeding them. They keeping these things frozen in time in a seed state. But I'm all over the place right now. I basically just wanted to talk about how the ancients knew the future but couldn't change it. A lot of them predicted their own demise. The jewel that I wanted to give y'all is that the ancients studied the stars, and over time, over millions and millions of years of studying the stars and how the stars are aligned and how that affect human behavior, the ancients were able to predict major events and major social shifts. Because with all of that knowledge, they realized, man, every time the sky make a certain arrangement, the people behave a certain way. And you able to see all of these patterns over the years if you're tracking star alignments in relation to human behavior. You start to see patterns over years where you can start predicting certain events in society. And this is what the Mayan and a lot of people were doing. And this is why they knew the future but couldn't change it. A lot of our ancients was telling the future because they studied star patterns and they was dealing with astrology and how every time certain patterns form, the collective behave a certain way. And I just wanted to put that out there because that's just another theory of how the ancients were able to foretell events. And I wanted to put that theory out there because what if the ancients didn't harness deja vu? What if you can't harness deja vu based upon what I just said? The fact that you gotta act it out because it's scripted and it ain't written in the script for you to be a prophet at that time. What I'm saying is, yeah, the ancients had deja vu, but they was just like us saying, hey, I just had deja vu. They couldn't get ahead of it either. That's my theory, because one of my theories is that the ancients harnessed their deja vu ability and they was just able to be prophets. I like to challenge myself. I don't like to be emotionally attached to my theories, which is why I push myself to debate my own theories. I'm debating my own theory that the ancients had harnessed deja vu. Maybe no one can harness deja vu. Maybe it's deja vu is just us remembering something that already happened. But if it already happened, how you gonna change it? Everything I did yesterday It already happened. I can't change it because it happened already. According to the ancestors, the future already happened. When that future event, that future parallel reality works its way into the present, you're going to act it out and you can't change it because it already happened. You basically a puppet on the stage. Everything is already written. So what I'm saying is we can't change deja vu. Just like we can't change what happened yesterday because it already happened. Something that already happened is happening again, and it's going to happen the exact way it already happened. You're just reliving a moment in time. Time repeats itself because the point in time that you experience isn't gone anywhere. It's a parallel reality that's out there right now. Just like yesterday passed behind us, but that version of you that's in yesterday is still there doing everything it was doing yesterday. It just passed. If that parallel reality circles back around again, you will remember acting it out and say that I had deja vu. And you won't be able to change it because it already happened. And time is going to preserve these actions the way that they happen. It's recorded. Just because you reliving it don't mean you can change it. You have to shift timelines, which is what the ancients were saying. Or you just going to keep acting this stuff out over and over. And you're going to keep having deja vu because we keep repeating this same life over and over. These same series of events circling back around until we break this particular cycle of time. And I got to stop using the word timeline. There are time cycles, but we've been trained to say line. We've been lied to about the nature of time, and it's possible for us to relive events that already happened because of the nature of time and parallel realities. Deja vu is proof, people. Don't listen to the scientific explanations because they don't make any sense. They always are telling you it's a mental trick, it's a glitch. What kind of defect allows a person to see the future? They don't want you to know the truth because they will have to rewrite all the science books, all the history books and all that. Even world religion will cease to exist because they're all based upon our modern understanding of how time works and how the universe works. And that's why all of the prophets and gods throughout these religious systems are seen as miracle workers and prophets and people doing stuff we can't do. We once had the ability of the ancients. We lost it when we lost the knowledge of who we are and what the world around us is. And we can't regain that knowledge listening to science, which is the very people that took it from us. The easiest thing to do is repeat what you've been told. The hardest thing to do is to question and challenge what you've been told. So people don't come repeating stuff that I already know and that I consciously decided to challenge. Once I start challenging science, you ain't going to stop me by repeating and regurgitating science. I know what science says. I just think it's bullshit, and I got the balls to challenge it, unlike you. Peace and much love, though, my people. It's been such a pleasure.